and discussing the technology-related warrants. We also had a discussion of the town website. We discussed the flyers we handed out at town meeting, inclusive of the tech strategy flyer, as well as the cellular helper guide, which was great. That was pretty much it.
I need to fix the numbering at the end.
9:13. Yeah. Well, it is in order.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any comments or questions on correct our previous minutes? Okay, I move that we accept the minutes with the only change being the updating the numbering, so it's sequential.
Second.
You'll second. Great. Let's go through. Thanks for joining us, Joe. Before we vote on that, Joe, do you have any comments on the minutes from last meeting?
No, they match my notes.
Okay. All right. So we have a motion to accept the minutes as is with the numbering corrected. And Angela seconded it. We'll go around the room. Angela?
Aye.
Larry?
Aye.
Will?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
Likewise, aye. Thank you. Thank you, Larry, for doing that. All right, let me pull up our agenda for this evening. Okay, so first thing I think is going to be the key topic for today is alignment of our discussions that are happening on the town master plan committee and with the municipal tech strategy. As a review, there's a separate committee that we have one person from our committee, it's Will, designated to be part of. That's the master plan committee. And there is one of our goals is to ensure that we have alignment between the master plan as well as the town technology strategy, and ensuring that's. Yeah,
let me insert one comment here, Matt. I'm not actually on the master plan committee, or I was, but I was a non-voting member. Actually, my current role is just on the master plan implementation committee. And the only reason that I reached out to Jay for this was to get status that can be reported to the planning board as to how the implementation is going. If there are issues, if you think there are issues with the alignment of the master plan and the technology strategy, I think you should probably talk to Sam Stivers, but I imagine that's actually going to be a discussion that you need to have more with the planning board.
So just so I understand, is the master plan committee still meeting? And yeah,
I was just checking on that, but I don't think so. I think that their website is not marked dissolved, but I don't think they're still meeting.
Okay, so there's this master plan implementation committee. Can you share with us when was that formed and how was it formed?
It was formed late last year, and it was originally chaired by Lisa Braccio, and now it's chaired by Sam Stivers. And the purpose of the master plan implementation committee is really just to be a place that can collects status on the different master plan recommendations, which I sent a snippet of those to Jay that impact on the technology department. But that all that it is really doing is collecting status and I guess reporting the status, and also, if there are issues, making sure that those issues are raised up to the planning board. So for instance, or I would guess to other entities like the select board. For instance, if there are issues with funding or whatever, those would be issues that would be, you'd want to make sure that we, faithfully transmit it. And then, the other thing is that, no no battle plan makes it past the first bullet, or no fight plan makes it past the first punch, right? So it would just be that, as someone who's implementing it, like the technology department, if they have, come to the realization that there are some things that may not be as feasible or as possible as the master plan committee thought they might be, that would be something to raise up. But once again, that's not the implementation committee. That would be above my pay grade there.
So how are appointments made to the implementation committee?
I don't know. I was asked to join. I was invited to join, and I joined. But as I said, this is much more of a reporting feature than it is anything else.
Okay. Mr. Stivers has joined us, and he's raised his hand. I'd love to have your comments, Mr. Stivers.
Thanks. I appreciate the promotion. Will, I'm not the chair of the Master Plan Information Committee, so I dodged that one. But
okay. I'm sorry. You're right. You're exactly right.
Debbie DeMuria is the chair
right.
of that, and the committee was formed by the Planning Board to reinforce the importance of actually getting some of these things done. From the 2008 master plan, there were several hundred implementation steps, very few of which actually got completed because there was no structure to follow up. And this time we've got about 200 implementation steps in 40 major objective areas. And we're trying to create a structure that first allows reporting in a way that people can understand to see how we're doing, and then provides a structure. In my view, Will, is a little more aggressive than yours in the sense that I think part of the committee's charge is to encourage people to make progress on implementation in various areas, and to coordinate as well as suggesting in places where people should be working together closely on things, and to try to facilitate that happening. And we're actually aiming toward a meeting probably in June between the planning board that has responsibility for the plan and the select board that has some degree of control, at least over the budget, to try to set some high level priorities to say, these are the few things that we'd like to focus on over the next 6 to 12 months, and provide some structure and focus for people to move in a more coordinated way on some of these things, with the hope that that will allow us to make progress in focused areas, and then reevaluate every 6 to 12 months and see if we should change that. So a combination of committee roles and purposes and resources, we hope will allow us to get some of these things done more effectively. And again, the committee has no authority in any sense, but both planning board and select board seem to be interested in trying to reinforce it. And I think to the earlier question, I don't think the master plan committee has been dissolved. It may have been, but after June 30th, when most appointments run out, I don't think it will survive, since the purpose is done for the master plan committee. So again, it is a very broad set of issues at this point. And we're having conversations around how to focus that in places that we can have important impact, both in terms of near term as well as setting the stage for important things that aren't going to happen soon, but start to socialize some ideas around things that we hope will happen in the longer term. So it's an interesting experiment. And again, we think that the process can work best through this committee of making sure that representatives in various committees, like Technology Committee, had representatives in the master plan piece, stay informed and work as they can to reinforce consistent support for goals and objectives that have been established here. So we'll see. It's still very early, and we're going to communicate with all the committees as we get better organized in terms of providing some structure for these implementation steps.
It
Thank you
was
for that
like
overview.
end of 2022 when I think we last looked at the technology strategy. Is there someone that you would recommend, Sam, on the planning board or on the master plan committee that if we did a refresh would be a good person to kind of run that by?
Less so the planning board, but if you actually did that and just sent that to Debbie DeBuria and say, here's late news in terms of the technology committee's thinking currently, and we actually then will, maybe me or the right people, maybe to sit down and sort of do an assessment of how that tracks with what the master plan said, and identify any issues there, and then come back. And clearly we want to be working off of the right information with the implementation committee. So I see this as a fairly fluid but also evolving process that is going to try to react to ongoing reality as we see it going forward, to create, again, consistent pressure to make progress in a variety of important areas.
If I could, maybe my characterization is wrong, Sam, but my understanding was that the master plan committee had pretty much accepted the technology strategy as the way to go.
Right.
And so I'm not sure that there would be a lot of change or change requests coming from that direction. Now, once again, if there are people in the MTC or Jay or whatever that feel that changes would be apropos, then great, let's get that going. And then I think to your comment, Sam, if there are other groups in the town, other committees or departments or such that would help in terms of getting the technology strategy implemented, then yeah, by all means, we do want to encourage cooperation there.
Let's coordinate and communicate. I mean, again, to make up a silly hypothetical example, if the previous MTC plan said we want to push technology X, and something has happened in the intervening time here where technology Y is now the right one, clearly the implementation committee doesn't want to keep pushing on technology X. So, and that happens in a variety of different areas as well. And so part of the process is we've got representatives from most, if not all, of the major committees in town who participated in the master plan. Those folks we're going to connect with through the implementation process here to stay in touch and let them be the liaisons to the various committees to both collect new information like this, as well as push pressure to be consistent, to identify opportunities to work together, et cetera. So the goal is to try to get a sizable group of people involved in the various committees supporting the work, as opposed to the worst case we did last time, having the document sit on the shelf, nobody used it. And next worst case is to have 5 people on the implementation committee responsible for going out and turning the crank on everything. So that's not going to make a huge amount of progress either. So we will see how it works. There will certainly be some groups that say, great, we're on board and we'll work hard to get it done. Some groups who will probably ignore us, and you got to pick your shots. So we're going to obviously see how that develops and push where we can, because out of 200 implementation steps, I don't expect we're going to get 100 of them. If we could get 15 or 20 in good progress over the next year, I'd be pretty happy. So anyway, fluid process, and we'll keep our fingers crossed. But again, any significant changes, updates, certainly I would sort of pass along to Debbie. She will coordinate with the committee and we'll try to figure out what that means, and I'm sure get back to you guys to say, do we have it right as we think about this?
Mm-hmm.
Great, that's helpful. So from my understanding, we have a single technology strategy. We don't have multiple technology strategies that are governed by different interests, et cetera. Single technology strategy that is developed by the MTC, maintained by the MTC, J included, and then that flows or is inherited. The master plan inherits from that, and of course, as you mentioned, Sam, that is fluid. It will change. It's agile. It's dynamic. It's a living document. When significant changes need to be made, it will do so. So not only the requirements that are within that plan are a single doc, but basically how we can report progress against them. We can work together to identify progress towards them. So we're not reporting progress against two different things. We're basically on the technology side, we're reporting progress towards the strategic technology plan, and we can report back to the master plan committee that progress as well.
Excellent.
Yeah,
And again,
I mean, well, just to say that the recommendation on technology in the master plan is basically just to implement the technology strategic plan. So I think from that standpoint, I think there's pretty good alignment.
Great, and that's exactly what we want. And if the various different town departments that have additional needs, new requirements surface, by all means, absolutely. And that's why we're here. And Angela is leading our efforts on maintaining the tech strategy plan. So yeah, that's wonderful to hear that it's just implementation. So
and Matt, I agree and understand on that. That makes good sense. And I think the implementation committee could be another set of eyes and ears out there to identify places where maybe we aren't implementing consistently, or opportunities for coordination or additional review, et cetera, to flow back not only the technology committee, but in other places where there are similar overarching plans that we're trying to pursue on a town-wide basis. So a lot of moving parts, and I'm sure we're not going to get most of them perfectly right, but at least the bar is pretty low now in terms of making progress, I think, on these more coordinated efforts. So I think this is a great place to be an important part of that process, since technology runs through almost everything we do.
I guess the other message here is that the implementation committee wants to make sure that the good work that's being done in different areas, including technology, is brought up and surfaced to the planning board, and then to the across different departments, and also to the select board.
Exactly.
Great. Okay, I think this is good. I think it sounds like we're all in alignment. In terms of the highest priority needs, are there particular requests from the master plan implementation committee, like particular items from the strategic municipal technology plan that they would like to hear updates on and understand what the status is?
Well, I think, I mean, my thought would be that the implementation of the strategic technology plan is going to be done on a what's available, what's possible kind of basis, right? So there's a lot of things that could get done earlier, and there are other things that will probably have to get done later because of funding or just because they're very complicated. So what I would say is that this is really the technology department's show, with the help of the MTC, is to say, what stuff are you working on, or what stuff do you think you're going to be getting implemented first? And so that can get reported up. Now, if some other department or other committees come back and say, we'd really like to see this part done, we'll let you know. But so far I haven't received any, or haven't heard any comments at the MPIC meetings to that effect yet.
Okay. So the purpose of the MTC meetings is to discuss the technology strategy and progress towards the technology strategy at a high level, and that's really what we do. And we review it, we discuss plans, etc. So I think it's basically that discussion should be held within MTC meetings, and once again, Jay, of course, included as part of the MTC. So with that being said, are there particular items within that the Master Plan Implementation Committee is keen to learn the status of, and relative prioritization of, etc.? Like, as you know, the website upgrade is a high priority right now. We have resources allocated to it. It's progress. It's a project that's in motion, and we can certainly we have plans to discuss that again tonight and continue to discuss that. Are there any other items apart from the website that need reporting on?
Well, I guess, other than the website, are there other, all I would say is, are there other aspects of the strategic technology plan that are being worked on? Because there's a lot of things in that, for instance, virtualization and things like that. So what I would say is that, as far as specifics from, coming from the MPIC, right now I don't have any. And it's really, I think that the technology department and the MTC, with the help of the MTC, should be driving, what they see that they can get done earlier. I think as Sam was saying, in the past, things have sort of sat on the shelf. I think there is some desire, or I think it would be great, for people to hear that the technology department is moving ahead. And I think there would probably be a lot of a concurrence that they're moving ahead on the, if they think that what they're moving ahead on is the highest priority, great. If someone comes into the room and says, no, we need to get this done first, certainly let you know. But right at the moment, like I said, I think that the technology department and the MTC should really be driving.
Sounds good. Yep. And we're certainly happy to work together on that. And I think our highest priority right now in the discussion is the website upgrade. And but I think we can bake into our discussion tonight or future discussions reviewing progress towards other aspects of the town tech.
I actually think we have a lot of areas that we've made progress on. I mean, everything from like very specific department needs, the move to the cloud, the security work, the data-driven approach with all the the surveys that we've been able to do. Customer experience, I think the website kind of falls under that. So if they're looking for some kind of update on progress, we could probably put together a slide or two that just talks about the major categories of the tech strategy and then the specific things that, Jay's helped spearhead and that we've worked with him on that, further those categories.
I think that would be great. I also think it'd be of great interest, to the planning board and the select board. What do you think, Sam?
Yeah, I agree. I think that would be very helpful. And again, I'm thinking about it. I would add the survey capability that you folks have developed. I think that has been hugely helpful in a variety of areas, and having that available for different users around town, I think that is an important thing to continue to emphasize. And again, Matt, to your earlier question, we're not actually all that well organized yet, and so it's still pretty fluid. And I think currently the flow we see is getting updates from the various committees, as Angela is suggesting here. I think that would be very helpful as a first step. And then once we can get the planning board and the select board together and talk about the priorities, at that point, I think the flow starts moving back in the other direction some, and saying, for example, if one of the key elements that comes out of that discussion is improved website web interface and customer experience for residents, which I'm hoping it will be, that is something, again, that can be used to reinforce behavior across all departments and reinforce many of the kind of things that you folks are doing, and maybe find some resources to do that as well. So that's, I think, going to take another month or two to sort some of that out better.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Well, but on the other hand, I think it's great that, that the technology department is coming to grips with a lot of these things and working on a lot of these areas. And, reporting that as status is great because it will let people know that progress is being made, but also if there are areas where there are issues that are coming up, definitely want to know that so that perhaps some help could be brought in. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. I do want to call out that Angela has made a recent progress report on the status of our status and the progress we made over the last year towards the strategic tech plan. She made a flyer about it. She shared it with it in town meeting. She made a presentation on it.
That was good. Yep. That was good to hear.
So bravo. Thank you, Angela. And hopefully basically just dust that
Maybe
off.
we can reuse some of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Share it with everybody at town meeting. We share it with the master plan implementation committee and the planning board. They can read it too. So yeah.
I was delighted to see that, because the moderator was making it very difficult for anybody to give reports there in order to compress the time, which failed miserably as a goal. But for the midnight meeting. But I think it's great that that's in the bylaw for you guys, that you report to town meeting. So you got a little leverage that others don't have. So that's excellent.
Yeah.
Is it okay if I make a quick comment on this?
Please, please. Yeah.
So there are items that are, there are items that are not on the strategic plan that have been done over the last couple of years by the department, that fall in line with, cybersecurity and trying to transition some items to cloud services if possible. But one thing I would like to do is, this strategic plan was definitely created before I came on board. So I really didn't have too much input as far as when it was created and what the strategic plan was and what pieces to that strategic plan were put in there. So I really would like to have a chance to reassess the entire plan as a whole for items that have not been addressed at this time. Mainly because I know that cloud services was a really big part of the strategic plan. And knowing that since I've been here, we're not there, right? And it's a 5-year plan, so we're not there in the next 3 years either. And I've been here for 2 years, and I'm not sure when the plan actually got created essentially. So maybe we should relook at it to see where the key pieces are that are missing to get us to that, just the cloud part of it. There's other pieces there that I have not really, dove into and really understand where the focus was around it, because again, like I said, I wasn't there for it. So I would really like to have that chance to maybe relook at that strategic plan and have a go around together to have, to just put something together that we all agree on that I contributed to as well.
I think that would be
Absolutely.
a tremendous value add, Jay. As a practitioner, as someone doing the implementation, you're going to discover things that didn't quite make it or opportunities. And I think that is sort of further detailing out there's a strategic plan and into one that actually can be implemented. So I think that'd be a great value add.
I can recirculate the latest draft for everybody to take a look at, just to have the latest one handy in your inbox, and then everybody can take a look at it and see what things people want to add.
Right. And I would encourage you, Jay, that if there are things that need to get done before something else that's on the plan can get done, by all means, let's try and get the surface so that any funding or any type of coordination or cooperation can take place to enable you to get that done.
Yep. Sounds good.
And Matt, I'd add too that we last night actually talked about a fall town meeting. So that creates an opportunity to rethink certain things. It's hard to get new funding for something like that, but in fact, in the past, we have had some funding warrant articles for fall town meeting. So at least creates a chance to, again, if there's something in the bylaws or whatever that needs change or structure, people or dollars, it opens that door. Obviously, not an easy path there, but at least it creates an option to think about that before next year's town meeting.
That's great thought. Yeah, especially as resources are needed that need to be allocated in town meeting. So this is the perfect time to revisit the plan and review the plan, and then also review to be able to execute that plan, what's necessary, and start as early as this fall, being able to get the necessary resources in place.
Great.
Okay.
So I guess Matt, the one thing, Matt and Jay, the one thing is that I'm kind of on the hook a bit to get some type of implementation status. So, if we could put our heads together, or you guys could put your heads together and let me know, that would be great. At this point, as Sam said, we're still getting things together, going and getting things together. So whatever you come up with would be, would probably be great for right now, just to let people know, the directions that we're moving in, and also especially the fact if things have already gotten done, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'd start with Angela's doc that she's already
Okay.
created.
Yeah.
And
All right.
that's a doc that already documents what we've been working on, what has been accomplished, etc. So I'd start there.
Okay.
You're muted, Angela.
I said I'll send that out as well. It does have our guiding principles, but there's a slide that has key accomplishments. So I think that would serve as kind of the latest for a number of the things that we made progress on over the last year.
Okay. And I think, this first time around, In a sense, we're going to be developing the sort of the table of contents of the implementation reporting here. So, if you think let's make sure that we include the areas we know of right now, and I'm sure we'll add other areas in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like I said, I think, again, the whole purpose of us providing updates to town meeting, and it's in our bylaw to do so, is to provide status updates towards the 5-year technology strategy. So there shouldn't be any daylight between what we're reporting back to the planning committee and what we're reporting at town meeting. So they should be one and the same. So
I guess, but remember, town meeting is a very time crunched thing, and so I would hope that because one of the purposes here is to make sure that funding and also areas of cooperation are identified, that we probably would have a little bit more, we'd have more detail, in reporting it up to the planning board.
sure, especially related to many necessary resources that
Right.
you might need. So yeah, so this is a great time to, as Jay mentioned, let's revisit it. We can share what we've already been done, but let's revisit, look at what needs to be changed in the thing, and then as a follow-on, once we've agreed to what the priorities are, new priorities based on any revisions, then we can discuss and put in there for each of the strategic items, what resources will be needed. And ideally, those would be resources within the next year and over the next 5 years if we have that level of forecast.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to invest in the next 5 years. How much should we invest to cover all of our needs? Yeah.
Right. I mean, this would be, an area where, getting the capital planning and improvement committee linked in as well, in case you identify, that there are going to be some major pieces of capital that are needed to actually move ahead with this. So that's, an area of cooperation and in making things consistent, and, maybe also talking to them and saying, when do you see that things might loosen up or whatever? And then there are other areas, like if we have equipment that's going to need to be replaced, making certain that they know that that's coming, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Any other discussion on that topic?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's move on to the website discussion. Where are we with that? Do you want to cover that, Angela or Jay?
I think we just wanted to follow up and see if there were any questions based on the questions that we circulated, just to make sure that everybody, was aware of those answers and see if there were any additional questions on those.
Well, just I guess I would have just a couple. One would be, I understand that, this may happen in mid-May, but it may happen later. I was wondering when you would be announcing it. And the other question would just be that, in going through and looking at the websites of the different committees, there are committees that haven't updated their web pages in quite some time, and they obviously need to. There are documents hanging off of pages that are not really relevant anymore. And so, I imagine that if you ask the committees, they'll probably tell you, oh, I don't want this 100% translated into the new site. I'd like to change these things. And so I guess the other question would be how they will be brought into the process.
So, a couple things. The first thing is the data that is on our current site has already been migrated over to the new site. That's first. I do plan on reaching out to specific committee members that I know that have been truly involved with everything in town from like the beginning of time, I would say. And there are individuals that I speak to almost every day that I know that are like constantly, looking for changes on the website or looking to make sure things are good on their page. I am not looking to block access to the entire committees, but I am not going to start just willy-nilly giving out access to people to go on the website and make changes. There
I,
are people, yeah, I mean, there are people that come to mind that I can think of that, you know, that I know for a fact they just need access once they have some proper training, and I give them the proper, you know, roles within the website, and you know, we see changes get made, and we can approve of them and make sure that the proper, you know, procedure is being done. And if I feel more comfortable, I can give them more and more permissions to do things on their page. That's the steps that I'm looking to take currently. My biggest fear is, you know, there is a revolving door with some committee members in town. I train them, I give them access. They decide to have a vendetta on the town and just go in there and start going crazy on things that I just do not want to take the risk on. Will those people do that? Maybe not. Maybe it'll never happen, right? But my fear is, it's, as an IT professional, my fear is the worst is going to happen. I'm not even going to plan for the best, right? So my concern is giving access to just anybody and everybody, and letting them just make changes whenever they want. So I am looking to reach out to some committee members that I know are, like I said, they're just off the top of my head. I can think of Trails as one of them. Kat is like very, very, like, she's been involved with Trails since, you know, the communications I have with people in town. I know she's just there, right? She's one person that I know I can say, hey, let's get you trained, let's get you the access you need. People on maybe conservation that relate to that as well. If members of advisory or members of even the select board up downstairs are going to usually do that in our office, want to make changes, yes. If people that are, you know, and an example like Kat are in that category, that I feel that, you know, they can take the responsibility, they can start creating their items on the page and get the approval. It really is a step process with this new website. Like, they create it, they submit it to whoever the owner is of the page, and then that person that's the owner of that page will approve of what they post before it's published, which gives us at least that chance to review it. Is it, not only is it ADA compliant, is there anything on there that could, you know, maybe they put a picture up there that could be, you know, it could have been taken from another website, and then we got a problem with that as well, right? So we always got to just make sure that those things are happening, because they're, you know, there's all these rules that they're telling us at Civic Plus to follow in order for us to stay compliant, to stay, you know, to stay legal across the board. We need to follow those rules. And again, once that comfort level comes along with the people that I start assigning that to, then they'll have a little bit more roles and responsibility. And I don't, you know, with that said, I think it's just getting that list of people, talking to them, seeing what they need. There are a lot of people that don't really want to have access to the website, and we need to really be the people to make those changes on the pages. There are a lot of pages that, as you said, Will, that have not been touched at all. Like, you can tell,
Right.
look at it, like nothing has happened on the page since probably the day it was posted.
Right.
So when you look at it now, yeah, it looks a lot better with the scheme and the color and everything like that. But then there's nothing on the page, right? There's a picture of something that, or a picture of a person on the page that's no longer with the town, or something like that. So that there's going to be changes that are going to be happening, especially over the next few weeks. Now that we've had at least the first steps of training, that's what's been going on this week. If I haven't responded to much this week, that's all I've been doing this week, is doing a lot of training with Civic Plus and with team members on learning how to access Civic Plus. Once now we've gotten past that stage, we're going to start doing a lot of changes on the website. And then, you know, going over some of the boards and committee pages and figuring out who's responsible for them, in the sense of saying, hey, this data is legit. This is what you want on your page before we even go live. So a lot of what's going to happen over the next several weeks is a lot of confirming. Is this what you like on your page? Is this not what you like on your page? Do you want to work with us to make the changes? And I've delegated that to a lot of the people in you know, in the different departments, because a lot of them, like I said in the past, do touch different parts and different committees across town. As far as sending out an announcement, that was actually my next plan, was to get an announcement out over the next week or so, because as much as Civic Plus wants me to go live on a specific date, I will not let them force me to go live if I'm not ready. And if the pages are not ready, if the information is not good, if it's not solid, if it's not the correct information, if there's something up there, especially that's not compliant under any of the, either ADA or just legally, then we need to make sure that before we go live. So yeah, Civic Plus said the go live date of May 15th or 16th or something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head, but if I'm not ready on that date, I'm not going to allow them to force me to go live on that date. We're just going to make sure everything is good before we go live. But yes, the next plan is to start getting that information out to everyone and then letting them know that this is the go live date. But again, I also want to make sure that we have everything in place before we just flip a switch and then something out there is just wrong. With all that
When you
information,
say that all the data's been migrated over, Jay, is that
Yep.
still within the 3-year range that we talked about, or did they end up doing more?
So that's another part. Another piece to that is what has happened currently with their migration is lots of boards and committees have multiple meetings per month, and they've actually reached in some years the max of that amount allotted to bring over because of the amount of meetings that we're having per month. So like some committees would have 4 meetings or 5 meetings. So then you add that up throughout a year, you're surpassing the 100 per year type of situation. So in some situations, I've been seeing committees where not 3 years total has come over, maybe 2 years total has come over, or
Because
2.5
they have
years
more
has come over.
meetings.
Yeah, so that's been the issue right now. But in the last 3 weeks, I've already talked to Civic Plus, and I'm trying to get pricing on either bringing over agendas and minutes for more years, obviously, for a specific amount of boards and committees like the select board, advisory, capital planning, trails, historical, the ones that are like the main hitters, at least try to get as much data from them over as I can. And then maybe after that, we can maybe worry about if we need to update some other ones going forward. We can start updating other ones on our own if we need to going forward.
I just remember we did put that line item in the ARPA request to have, I think it was $5,000 extra in case we did need to do more data migration.
Yep.
So that should be in there.
Yep,
If,
and that's what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to get that pricing from Civic Plus. They haven't gotten back to me yet. They've given me a base price, so they've given me what the price would be per 100 agendas and minutes. And now that I've kind of narrowed down, hey, I would like to get this, at least these top hitters of committees and boards. What would that pricing be? And they're actually trying to get that process to me, that pricing to me, hopefully soon in the next day or two. And that again becomes another thing that could hold up the launch date, because now they have to figure out what that data is, wrap that data, merge that data over to the site. In my mind, I think it's a fast process, but in their mind, they're like, it's gonna push the date back most likely.
What was the feedback
those
like? I mean, I know I sent you some feedback. I think Larry sent some feedback. Did you get a lot of feedback from any of the other departments about the mock-up that you shared with us?
Yeah, a lot of a good portion, oddly enough, was the picture size in the front page. A lot of people didn't like how big the picture took up of the front page, and they felt like they had to scroll down too much. What I don't think is clear in some ways is when you're looking at this on a cell phone, that's what you're really looking for. Because unfortunately, as much as we'd like to say, yeah, they're looking at it on the computer, a good percentage of people are looking at it on their handheld device, right? They're looking at it on an iPad, they're looking at it on a cell phone, and they're going and doing their job on there. So they literally tailored it in a way to make it as easily accessible on a cell phone, an iPad, any handheld device, so they can go through the scrolls. And their logic behind it, and it kind of makes sense, is people are so used to scrolling now that to them, scrolling down a couple more pages down with their finger on a phone is not it's nothing to anybody today. So that's kind of their logic behind how they make how they make it in the page right now. I mean, if we're here, if it's okay, I don't mind showing you what the page looks like to everyone here. If you want to see the most recent version, I can bring it up right now. I think Matt is.
That'd be great. Yeah, sorry, I muted. That'd be great. While you bring it up, Larry, you have a question or comment?
Yeah, at the risk of being a spoiler to some extent, I'd asked several times over the past 6 months for us to think about, putting together a list of actual goals for the new website, other than, a more modern look and feel and a refresh and up-to-date software. It seemed like we should have, other goals, whether they be, more information, better information, more transparency, better accessibility for groups of people. I wasn't necessarily trying to enumerate what they were, although a lot of those things did come up in some of the surveys and things. We never really did put together that list, but I guess in spite of that, do we feel like we've solved any problems here other than a fresher and newer look and feel and more up-to-date software?
So Larry, I if somebody else wants to answer that, that's fine. But I feel that we and I understand this is what you're looking at right now, right? And I understand you're probably thinking, okay, it's just a refresh of our website, great. But there's a lot of ease to what we are going to upgrade to versus what we are currently using. And there's a lot more options and availability to send out alerts, to send messages, to put information up here for easy accessibility, for just pointing things out like online payments, license and permits, minutes and agendas. Like it's not just a refresh of the site so much as the technology that they're applying to this to make it easier for not only us to apply feeds to people and information to everyone, but also the ease for internally for us to apply that information to the page. Because right now, currently, like in some cases, you have to know code in order for you to add something to our page and get something out to the public. Whereas this is all module based. So we could just add and drop different modules for notifications, for setting up information like the news and alerts. There's just so much more here that I've seen just in the last 48 hours that it's amazing. It's really going to assist the town in getting information out to people, but it's also going to not make it as stagnant as you've seen some of the pages today on our current website where no one's changing anything. It's going to make people want to come in here and make those changes because of how easy it is for us to make those changes. So yeah, it is a refresh. Yeah, it is a new site, but there's just so much more behind it just being a refresh and a new site.
I mean, clearly a more modern CMS provides a huge number of tools for updating the website. I mean, there's no doubt that what we have now is going to be much simpler than for somebody to update than what was before. I mean, content management system technology has come a long way just in the last 5 or 6 years. So, I mean, I have no doubt of any of that. I'm just still concerned, and this is not new. I've expressed this in the past. I'm just concerned that we still don't appear to have a good strategy for where we really want to go with this. I mean, we've now put this in place, which is great, and I have no objection to that. But
So,
I don't have any warm and fuzzy feeling that we really know where we want to go next, other than let's get the data all migrated over and go live.
Well,
Um,
if I might just offer this, Larry, and kind of just piggybacking a little bit on maybe something Jay didn't even think of. A lot of the trainings he's organized has helped get staff together and take a look at the website in a way that has not happened, I think, since he's been there, and maybe not even since the last major update. So kind of a natural byproduct of that is that he's kind of organizing staff roles and getting a better sense of who's going to contribute on a regular basis. So I know that there's not like a list of who's doing what right now, but I think that that's naturally sort of happening as part of the trainings that Jay's organized. And he's been very good at getting information proactively to the employees, which I've appreciated.
so let me add to that. And Larry, you have absolutely asked this question many times. And the best we've done so far is try to identify what are the problems we're trying to solve. Why are we doing this? And part of that has been that whole UXR research, right? That was done through interviews and surveys. My question back to you is, Larry, would you have time to walk through the results of the UXR research, basically that presentation that was given, and pull out of it the key findings? So here are the key pain points, and here are the things that we would like to resolve, and basically create draft from the previous key pain points. What are the things we want to solve, and then basically create a checklist in a sense to make sure that as part of this upgrade, we are addressing each of the key findings from that research.
I'd be happy to make a pass through that.
That would be wonderful if you wouldn't mind. Joe, do you have a comment or a question?
Yeah, I mean, I know you hit some of the points that I wanted to raise with the going back to the UXR to say, like, we had some direction that was a little, even if it was potentially later in the game. Just from a myself as an end user and resident perspective, the mere fact that the hierarchy is less cumbersome and I can get to data faster is a huge win. And I believe that was also echoed in the UXR. I do think that we also have to bear in mind the operational hat. We were on the trailing edge of supportability in the in the previous world and the previous contract, so we kind of needed to come forward. I do think it is incumbent on us to not consider it completed even after all the staff are trained. This is not it's an iterative process. It's not something that's done, and that any gaps that Larry finds on the UXR, yes, we want to address them, but we also want to, some time period, 6 months, 8 months, whatever, after the real launch and staff and committees are really using it, we need to go back and say, okay, now that you've had this new system, what are you now seeing, so that we can actually do any adjustments that are not within the realm of the roles that can be delegated by Jason.
I agree with that 100%. From what I've learned with the recent training on this site, this is going to be a very fluid operation. It is not going to be, okay, one and done. We are all set. Leave it alone. No way. I mean, there's just so much we can do now and change, and then getting the feedback from the community and understanding what we need to do to make things better. Like, for all I know, these tabs that I have here are not the ones that people want to see. Or maybe we find out, meetings and agendas, they could be somewhere else, right? And we can add something else here. Like someone else wants to get, permits for dogs or something. Like whatever is going to make it easier going forward. That's what makes this platform so much easier for us. It's like someone says, hey, or a bunch of people, I would say, being in a survey, say, hey, this particular piece needs to be changed. We're not going to just blow it away and say, nope, we're not going to do it. Because of the ease of what we can do here, it's something we can do the next day or the next couple of days, or look at the changes and publish the changes and get the feel of the residents again and see what they feel about that change particularly. So it's a very powerful platform. Like I said, I don't want to sound biased to it only because of the training that I've seen, but I'm just really excited about what this tool is going to give for us. Besides that, is there any positive feedback on what the page looks like?
Well, I'm not going to give comments. I'm going to give any feedback, positive or negative, on the site.
Yeah.
To me, it looks nice. I like the picture in the front. That's cool. I just want to thank you, Jay, for your work on this, and especially it's not just your work on it, it's your mentality here. You're not just saying we're upgrading once and we're going to wait another 7 years until the software is end of life, and then we'll make changes then, right?
No.
I appreciate the mentality you have towards this. So thank you.
Thank you.
It looks really nice. Yeah, and I did look at it on my iPhone. It looks very nice on the iPhone too.
Yeah, just a better
Easy
feel.
to navigate, easy to get to everything. It's very intuitive, and that's definitely some of the things that we heard.
Yeah, and I know, Will, you're part of the SPAC, and it was, a lot of the training that we're doing in the last 2 days, like every object that we had to fill in, or every form that we created, or every page that was created, no matter what we did, Brenda, who is the trainer, it was like, this is how you do it, and then this is what you need to do to keep compliant for ADA. It was like every step we made, it was like, and this needs to be done for ADA compliance, and then this needs to be done for ADA compliance. Like, it was like every single thing we did, it all pertained to being compliant in every way and form. So that's what I took back a lot on that. It was like, okay, it's not like just let's throw information up there and no one can read it, no matter what the difficulties are. They really do tone in and narrow in on that particular compliance.
That sounds fantastic. What I would say, just as my feedback on the site, is it looks like a site where things are not sort of flashing in and flashing out, and I'm glad to see that. That's a big issue. And it sounds like you're getting a lot of very good guidance, and as Ryan was saying, people are really taking a look at the website and evaluating, and that may be one of the best things that's happening here. And if accessibility is being mixed in with that, that's fantastic.
Hey, Larry, do you have another comment? Is your hand still raised, or is it no?
No, I just didn't put it down.
Okay. Great. All right. Any other comments on the website, the process, or is it?
I was just curious if Sam was in the room, so if he was able to see this. I think this is the first time that he's actually seen this, if anything, as well.
I just kind of smiled when you guys were talking about how big the picture is, but it is like the style, like if that makes sense. Like if you go to any town website or you go to anything, it's like a big picture at the top. And we've been having our own discussions with our website vendor for the library, and that's like all the examples are gigantic pictures right when you go to it. So it's just like, that's what it's trending right now.
I think it looks great, actually, just sort of visual look. So thank you.
Okay.
That's beautiful.
All right. I will stop sharing this.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for that discussion. Let's move on to more mundane items, but network architecture review. Joe, do you want to provide any updates there?
Jason and I had a useful meeting last month. We got to set up and establish a face-to-face cadence. We had to give April a pass, unfortunately, due to scheduling, but our next meeting is next week. And it's admittedly slow going, but we're getting through some details, and I'm not quite sure what shape a work product that's going to come back to the committee is at this point, but I'm at the very least, we'll have some sort of reasonable report, probably in a couple months, but it depends on how much progress we can make. I think the face-to-face meetings have worked out really well.
That's great.
I don't know if Jason, you want to add anything on that?
Anything to add there, Jason?
No, yeah, it's definitely going to take some time for us to get to the information that we need to, gather. And I would say, obviously, and this is, I would say, an obvious statement is not too much is going to be shared publicly. If it's something that we have round tabled, executive session type thing, if we want to talk about some details, I'm okay with that. But also, I don't want to have too many details out there to the public as well. So that would be the only thing I would add to that. But yeah, working with Joe is started off well, and I see it going very good.
Sounds great. When you do get something that they're ready to present, I think the MTC would love to discuss in executive session. We would do it in executive session. So just let me know, and we'll make sure we put it on the agenda. And I assume as part of that discussion is this whole secondary ISP. Is that correct? I think you're still getting quotes for that, Jay, is that right?
So as of right now, it's looking like it's going to end up being Comcast as a secondary, only because they have been the most proactive and kind of giving me the options of adding a line in town for me. But I'm hoping that to kind of square that up so that it lines up for the fiscal year 24, right? 24. But so long as it lines up with that, with the first billing coming in. Firewall, I already have a firewall purchased for the secondary site. And I haven't, it's kind of just waiting right now to go through the configurations and stuff like that. And once I know what, obviously with the static IPs that are going to be and all that. But yeah, as of right now, it's looking like we're heading towards the Comcast end.
Awesome. Thanks for your work there.
Yep.
And cloud deployment, Assess Pro 5.0. I know I need to find time to meet with you, Jay, for the next steps there and some additional questions. So I don't think there's much update there. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. We don't have Ryan from the schools, so we do not.
Yeah, we did not meet this month. He and I have some standing meetings that unfortunately this month got scrubbed due to both of our schedules. But the next one is also lined up for next week. So hopefully I'll have something I can potentially share, or flip side, if people have specific direct concerns, I can carry them over.
Great. And once again, if there's particular specific details that you gain, I think the MTC would be interested in just learning about it. And once again, we can share that in executive session. At high level, meta level, I'd love to learn and still continue, as always, to explore potential synergies between town IT and the schools, especially where we have fiber that runs right in front of schools. What are their opportunities for cost savings, both reduce costs, increase redundancy, or both? So, yeah. Okay. And I think that the transfer station electronic permit validation system, that's sort of on hold until we get a new director of DPW. So I don't think we have.
Matt, I have a suggestion on that. I was thinking, you can buy a wildlife camera for under $100, which is motion sensitive, and then it takes a picture. And I'm just wondering if we could put one of those on a stick at the transfer station and let it sit there for a week, and then go through and see how many cars are coming in without stickers, just to collect some information on what the traffic is like.
So I think the purpose of that you're suggesting is to basically monitor how many people are coming in without stickers.
Yeah, well, just to get a feel for it. Yeah, I mean, if people have stickers, that's fine. But if they don't have stickers, and we see a lot of those people coming in just from an informal kind of data collection, then that would build a case for it. The other would would just be maybe to understand what the traffic volumes are like, just to make sure that, whatever solution might get selected, it's obviously going to have to put up with the traffic volumes. And if we measured that, we'd have some hard data.
So I think one of the next steps that I need to do is put together a document, all the things we discussed about what are the problems that we're trying to solve with this. Going back to Larry's great tutorial questions, it's the why. Like, what are we attempting to do here? I think in one of those is indeed, I think, to potentially solve a problem of potential people entering without a sticker. I think that's the minor from the most recent, the minor problem we're trying to solve. It's not a major problem. So with that being said, let me document those and we can discuss them in our next meeting. Basically, what are the key problems we're trying to solve? And I think basically our last discussion, it's one of this is to potentially enable new business processes that we don't have the technology to enable right now, such as chargeback for individual items that we haven't been able to charge for, and recoup costs that we haven't been able to recoup.
Yeah,
so, Larry, do you have a...
I was just going to say, I think in the discussions we've had, the two primary issues that have come up were, first of all, the registration process for residents, both in terms of making it easier for residents to register and requiring less manpower on the part of DPW to register and maintain those registrations. I mean, right now you have to go to this building and you have to give them your registration, and they have to, give you this little sticker. And so there's that whole process. And then there's, on the person on the other side of the desk is the resident who has to actually, go through all of that. So, that, I think that's where we started. And then the second piece is the one that you just brought up that we discussed last month or the month before, and that is it enables it, and this might be sort of the does it make sense or not question, but it enables enhanced business models. We, as you point out, we can charge for single entries, we can charge for different types of entries. It's $5 if you're just dropping off leaves, and $10 if you're actually dropping off trash or whatever. And other, possible sort of a la carte charges. And I have no idea whether DPW is interested in that at all, but that might actually be the make or break issue. And then the third one, which is probably the small one, is the one that Will brought up, and that is, it gives us an opportunity to potentially catch scofflaws. But I doubt if there are really all that many of them, and that certainly probably wouldn't be a big justification for something like that.
Yeah. Sam, you have a comment?
Yeah, thanks. We have an agreement with a new DPW superintendent who's going to start, it looks like late July. He's got to give 90 days notice to his current employer. So that would be the time to have some of that conversation as he comes in. I have no idea how enthusiastic he might be about this, or whether he uses this kind of technology in his current position, but he seems to be fairly interested in a variety of things. So I bet that he would be very interested in at least having the conversation about it. To Will's question, we actually do have video at the transfer station. So it's already there. It is not used routinely unless there is a problem, but and I don't know exactly how much they store, but there have been instances where there's been an issue and we've gone back and looked at video to confirm, who was there and what they did and that kind of stuff. And the final thought is that this is a touchy issue for many people. So if we're going to do this, I think there's a process that we need to think about carefully to advertise and announce and let people know it's coming. And not just sort of pop a camera out there and start taking people's pictures, even though, frankly, we've been doing it for some years. People don't know about it. But and Matt, that huge load of trash you dropped off last week was, we'll follow up. We're tying that into our invoicing system right now. But so again, I think there's great opportunity here, and if, again, primarily for the flexibility and thinking about charging processes differently as well. I think there's some interesting upside there. So again, great to put some of that down on paper, talk about it some more. But I think the real opportunity is once the new DPW superintendent gets here, have the conversation and say, how much appetite does he have for this kind of thing? And clearly, he's going to be pretty busy initially getting his feet on the ground in terms of institutional knowledge here. So I doubt that he's going to put this on his priority list for number one for August or September, but at least it's good to socialize it and get him in the loop, let him know you're thinking about it, and see where he wants to go with it. So thanks.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you for the comment. So yeah, I think we'll continue the discussion. I will document that, so we'll pave the way for that conversation. So when he does come, and it sounds like my original hope this past fall was that by the next fall, by the time permits expire, and permits they start, at least our current permitting system. Once again, talking about business process changes, our current permitting system is everybody follows the same schedule, and they don't have the ability of subscribing for a half year or coming in and say, I want to subscribe right now for the next year, for the next year that based on today's date. So my hope was we could get a more flexible new system in place before the next permit cycle, which is September, I believe. But I'm guessing, given the realities of the situation with the DPW director, we're not going to be able to do that. So at least we can start the conversation, and maybe then by fall of 2024, we can maybe have something in place. But that gives us time to make sure we have properly document it, discuss it, maybe discuss at town meeting, make sure there's, people are aware, and we've properly weighed the pros and cons and have it be fully, full alignment, so it doesn't come as a surprise to anybody. So yeah. Okay. Is there any other things that I've missed on the agenda? I think we've covered all of the agenda items for today. If not, let's take a look at our calendars if we could, and review a potential date for our meeting in May. So I'd love to find out people's thoughts on either Tuesday the 16th or Tuesday the 23rd.
I'm away on the 16th picking Alex up from college, so I would vote for the 23rd.
I'm actually picking somebody up at the airport in the evening of the 16th, so the 23rd would be better for me also.
Okay. How's the 23rd look for you, Jay, Will, and Joe?
I think I'm okay for right now, but
I may have a meeting coming up on the 23rd, but actually that would be a morning meeting, so no, I'd be fine for the 23rd.
my only concern is website stuff going on probably around that week, but I think I should be good by the evening though.
Okay. Joe?
Yeah, nothing currently on the calendar that would be a problem.
Okay. All right, let's tentatively say the 23rd then. I'll send out a meeting hold for then. Go from there. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for your time. And it looks like we're going to have to join shortly. So adjourn early. So I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, let's go around the room. Adjournment, Larry.
Aye.
Joe.
Aye.
Will.
Aye.
Angela.
Aye.
Likewise, aye. Thank you, everyone. And we'll
Thank
chat
you.
next month.
Have a good night.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.